Believe it or not, the demo for Final Fantasy XII in English is finally here. This is a demo very similar to the one shown earlier this year in Japan, but for the first time it's playable in English. It's also very different than the demo shown last year at E3 2004. It's much more polished, and it doesn't actually demonstrate any of the game's story. In this demo you take control of 6 of the final party members, and participate in one of 2 missions. The first mission takes place on a beach, and shows off the weight battle system. The second takes place in a dungeon and shows off the active battle system. The gameplay varies dramatically between the 2 different formats. Weight feels a lot like Knights of the Old Republic, and active feels a lot like Final Fantasy XI Online, except that your characters aren't other players, they're just AI-controlled assistants. Despite feeling very, very different than any previous offline Final Fantasy that's come before it, it still has a lot of ties to the Final Fantasy series. You can check our text preview for more information on that. One thing that remains consistent with the other Final Fantasy games is that it's absolutely beautiful. The graphics are fantastic, especially the summoned monsters, which admittedly are getting old at this point. So it's very different than any previous Final Fantasy game, but as you can see from the trailers that play when you complete the demo, the story is very similar. There's an empire that you have to defeat, magical stones that everyone is trying to get a hold of, lots of summoned monsters, and very feminine-looking heroes. The spells and skills also draw upon Final Fantasy lore. You have your Cure, your Thunder, Thundara, you have special abilities like Holy, Protect, Shell. The monsters should be familiar to people who have played Final Fantasy games as well. The demo doesn't really give it any sense whatsoever of how the story in the game will play out, or even how the game structure is pieced together. What it does demonstrate is the actual gameplay mechanics. Instead of having lots of menus and a turn-based battle system, your characters actually run around within the game world as a full party together, attacking monsters, being attacked, and not bothering with taking turns. Once you choose an attack, your character's active time bar will fill up, and then they'll perform that attack. As soon as they've completed their action, then you're free to choose another command. At any time, you can also control the other 2 characters you're in your party, and have them perform certain actions. But if you don't give them commands, they'll just perform actions on their own. The AI in general seems to be pretty good, much better than in Star Ocean. Your characters actually heal you when you need to be healed, and use actions and skills appropriate to the situation. In wait mode, there's plenty of opportunity to give your entire party commands, but in active mode, things are so brisk and there's no pause in the action whatsoever that you really are better off just letting your characters act on their own and taking control of the character whose skills are most advantageous to the current situation. The missions themselves are very simple. The first, on the beach, simply requires you to kill 3 Sleipnirs, after which a dinosaur will appear. Take down the dinosaur, and that's it. In the active mission, you have to explore a dungeon, defeating an Adamantoise to collect its key. Then you take the key to the special door at the bottom, and defeat the ringworm, who waits behind the door. The reward is a taste of future areas, gameplay, and FMV sequences that should give a slight taste of what the final game will be like, but only a taste. Final Fantasy XII will definitely be the most unconventional Final Fantasy to date, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Lots of people will reject the changes and the dramatic differences and the dramatic innovations in the game, but it's impossible to judge whether it's a success or a failure until the final product arrives, hopefully sometime next year. In the meantime, the demo gives us plenty to debate, so get on the message boards and start flaming each other.